Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to Football Inc. We've just finished over on the Spurs Talk Show. We're in with Johnny H at the Football Inc. Johnny's wearing a shirt and a cap. Take the button down one, Johnny. There you go. Expose a little bit of chest. Do the Russell brand for us. We've just been having a little bit of fun over on Spurs Talk Show. How are you, mate? How you doing?
All good, all good. Had a bit of a icky weekend. Wasn't feeling so good. Managed to do a couple of streams. Weren't easiest, but I'm feeling a lot better today. Thank God. Thank God. Lots of news, though, Sean. Lots of news. Lots of bullshit.
Lots of news, mate. Lots of news regarding Romero. Well, it's Tottenham news. There should be a few people coming over from the Spurs Talk Show where we've just been talking about thin ice. Apparently, I was on thin ice for suggesting that a player called Marino Hinestroza, who sounds a little bit Japanese and looks... He's a black guy, plays in Colombia, but he definitely looks a little bit like he's maybe got some Japanese heritage in there as well. Apparently, I'm on thin ice for saying such a thing. And the Sean Butler raid is here in full force. Guys, smash the granny out of the like button if you enjoy a little bit of controversial takes. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already on the channel. Hit the notification bell.
Are you saying we're not woke, Sean?
Oh, I literally just had a 20-minute debate about why we're not woke on that channel nor on here. We don't care. We're going to say what we want to say. Of course, we'll never be offensive deliberately, but if people think that just saying something about like an accent or a name happens to, we're not participating in this world, not doing that anymore. So
people mispronounce names, people get stuff wrong. Back in the day when you did something wrong, you said, "I'm really sorry. I've learned by my mistakes and I'll move on and become a better person." In this world, it doesn't seem like you can. Hey, Darren. Hi, Simo. Hi, everybody. If you're woke, I'm yes. We are anti-woke. The anti-woke Football Inc. channel. Yes.
Yeah, we are. We are indeed. But like I say, it's all in good spirits and good jests, and never anyone intentionally upset. Guys, but make sure you do smash the like, smash the subscribe, but also let us know where you're from, who you support. And there's 300 people here already. Incredible numbers. Love to see it. We've got a lot to talk about, Johnny. Shall we start with the kind of broken news that's coming out around Tottenham with Romero? Should we start there? We've got loads of topics today. We might be going for an hour and a half.
I just don't want people to think it's only a Tottenham channel.
Of course it isn't.
Because it definitely isn't. But if you want to start with Romero, then fine. Look, the issue here is put up or shut up is the oldest trick in the book. Real Madrid used to do it. Create false narratives. Give the press who are desperate for any sort of story right now, give them a sniff of a story and let them run with it, and run with it they will. If Atletico Madrid want Cuti Romero, they know the price, they know what it is, pay it, right? He's going nowhere. He's got 2 years left on his contract. Thomas Frank will want him. No two ways about it. You're not going to not want a player like that. He's going to be playing in a more defensive, solid defensive setup, which will appeal to him. And also it gives Thomas Frank 6 months to 8 months to see whether or not this guy really does mean business. But what will really be the decisive factor for Cuti Romero is Spurs' intent. Are Spurs ever going to change the way they operate? Unless they show intent, and what I mean by that, I mean intent of signing the likes of Eze, signing the likes of Douglas Luiz or top players, then he will want to go. And who can blame him? He's a winner. Sure. Whatever you may think about him not being in the game and all the rest of it, I think, I honestly think there is a player there. And unless you're going to pay the 70, 80 million pound, then jog on. Don't want to hear it. It's just, it's a stuck record. And it will come to a point where we won't sell it. If Atletico Madrid want to come in and do the deal now, then not a problem. But if you're going to come in and try and do a deal, 2 games into the season and then leave us with, no chance of getting a centre back, which has happened before, then that's done. What have we got here?
Sean, there's a rumour that our potential new ownership is a Japanese conglomerate. You could have scuppered the deal.
you talking
all
about
I
Jewish?
happen to say, by the way, I'm looking it up on the screen. Just a quick one. I want to get your take on this one, mate. His name is Marino Hinestroza, which sounds a little bit Japanese, right? It sounds a little bit Japanese. Yeah. And when I look, this isn't the best example, right? But when I looked him up on Google Images, his other pictures, he's obviously a black guy from Colombia. In other images, his eyes look a little bit kind of Asian-y. And so I said, with the name Histro, I was like, is it possible that he maybe has a little bit of Japanese heritage? That's all I said. And then someone went, mate, thin ice, Sean.
Thin ice. Listen, I thought it might be. You might hear from his Jewish-Japanese solicitor, Sosumi. Yeah, he'll probably be in a minute, telling us that we've overstepped the mark. Look, I think I'm going to give that short shrift. You know, move on. I think this story has run such a long time. He wants to leave. No. Until he's gone, he's still here. That's it. End of.
Listen, for what it's worth, the stories came out from Argentinian media. No surprise. An Ali Gold came out and said, actually,
who's Argentinian, Sean?
Yeah, Romero. Yeah, of course. That's what I mean. Yeah, of course. Yeah, and then Ali Gold came out and said that's not true. Basically, that the deal isn't done. But is there an argument though that maybe that there is something that's happening, but that Ali Gold maybe has been fed? He's a part of the club's kind of PR, well, not the club's PR, but he's like he's gotten in. He knows things. So is there a chance that they might be doing the kind of the Gareth Bale situation where they think that by keeping a story that hasn't yet finalized closer, like say it's not true, then it allows you to go and negotiate with clubs where you can play the story of, well, we don't have the money, but that can't be used if people know that Romero's already coming and going and you get 70 million in.
You spent £80 million on Alvarez, right? And I was shocked that Man City were getting rid of him because I've always thought he's a terrific player. Really, really liked him. And so I was shocked they were getting rid of him. But they paid the 80 million. You got the money. Pay up.
They want to spend 200 million euros, according to other reports.
Mate, you went and signed Clement Longley, right? Okay, give me a break, right?
Yeah.
You know,
other stories out, mate. This one is just, I don't know if you saw this. It's just broke about half an hour ago. Mohamed Kudus.
Pardon?
Mohamed Kudus.
No, go on. You go on with this one, right?
This has been broken by Matt Law, but then it's been also verified by Fabrizio Romano. Let me get it up on the screen. That Tottenham have. Here we go. Share this tab instead to bring it up. That Tottenham have genuine interest in Mohamed Kudus, and he's high on the list this summer. As Matt Law reports, initial contact took place with his new agents while there are more clubs also involved. Kudus is open to Spurs talks. What's your thoughts on that one, my man?
So let me explain to you about a list. He's on the list. If you saw the list will probably have 4 to 5, maybe even 6 players on that list for obvious reasons. It's very difficult to have a list of one when you're competing with.
Not really a list if it's one, is it? It's more of like a
totally unrealistic. Totally unrealistic. Because even if your number one wants to come to you, the selling club might not want to deal with you, might have unrealistic prices. So you normally have quite a few players on your list. A list, which I must hasten to add, has probably been collated over months and months. Then you have your opportunities which come in due to unrest at a club or club having financial issues like Lyon, and you go there and you pick over the bones. But no, they have a list. So this terminology that they use, they admire him. He's on the list. So on Spurs' list will be Brian Mbeumo, Eze, Semenya, Kudus, and probably say a Jonathan David for all we know. So I don't really make too much interest in that. Yes, he's on the list. Where he is on the list, morning everybody, where he is on the list is open to debate. I definitely think he was not 1, 2 or 3 on the list. In fact, I'd put money on it. But this is how it goes, and it's a valid comment. But it keeps the column inches going. Remember, they have to find something every single day to print.
Well,
we don't have to look, Sean. They do that for us. We're here to debate the stories that they throw out there, and we're here to decide whether or not there's some kudos to it. There was one here which
just quickly, Johnny, before you bring that one up, Howard Berlin, thank you very much, man. Nice to see you. Villa fan listening on holiday in Gran Canaria. I used to spend a lot of time in Gran Canaria on holiday when I was a kid. We went there every year. I loved it. It was so much fun. Love the humour. You don't want Dougie Luiz. All the Villa players sold recently have gone south. That's a really interesting take from a Villa fan, Johnny. Do you not want him back either, Howard? Because there's rumours out yesterday that Tottenham and West Ham were in a tussle to sign your boy Jacob Ramsey, and then the argument was that because he's 40 million quid's worth of money, but it's all profit for you because of his homegrown. He came through your academy. That you would then take that money, get yourself out of any potential jam that you're in, and then use that money to go and buy Dougie Luiz back for 25 million. So basically you're getting rid of one player and bringing back another. That I would make the argument, maybe you're more in tune with him than we are, but I think he's better than Jacob Ramsey, and he's a different type of player. Ramsey's a left winger or left midfielder. Obviously Douglas Luiz is more of an 8, but the argument that was made by the media yesterday was that you're going to get rid of Jacob Ramsey and bring back Douglas Luiz at half the price. So let me know your thoughts, mate. Thank you for stopping by, buddy. And like I say, guys, everyone, let us know. One tonight, also a Villa fan. Let us know if you're a non-Tottenham fan. I think most people here are Tottenham fans, but let us know where you're not.
We want all fans in here, right? I mean, obviously, a lot have come over who followed myself and yourself, Sean. But we want all the fans here. That's the whole point of this channel, is to make it all encompassing. Because as the season goes on, when the games start, we'll discuss the Spurs game, but we will discuss all the other games that come about. It was just Madsy. This is the signing that I told you about. That's done. That's Leeds to sign Sebastian Bornau from Wolfsburg. I told you who did that deal. I know who did that deal, and that's definitely happening. So Leeds have gone straight in to sign 2 very good centre backs. They obviously mean business, and it starts at the top. So it starts at the back, should I say? With having a solid centre back pairing, and so. They've invested their money in that at the moment, so that's good news for them. The story that I wanted to just to go with, Sean, was that UEFA have postponed the decision on Crystal Palace's involvement in the UEFA Cup next season.
What does that mean?
League. I mean, why there was meant to be a meeting here where they were meant to ratify their involvement back to the competition due to Woody, what's his name, the New York Jets owner, Woody Johnson taking over his stake. It basically says UEFA has postponed a decision on whether to admit Crystal Palace into next season's UEFA Cup. Announced on Monday, it needed more time to make a decision. UEFA has postponed a decision on whether to admit Crystal Palace into next season's Europa League. Paris thought they had absolutely secured a place in Europe's second-tier competition thanks to their FA Cup win over Manchester City in May. But uncertainty arose as to whether or not they would be allowed to enter due to UEFA's multi-club ownership rules. Outgoing major shareholder John Textor, who has agreed to sell his stake in Palace to New York Jets owner Woody Johnson, has an interest in French club Lyon, who qualified for the same competition. But UEFA announced on Monday it still needed more time to make a decision on Palace's Europa League involvement, and said that Lyon had reached a settlement that would now exclude them from the European competition in 25-26 if they were relegated to League Two over financial difficulties. And the statement just said that UEFA's statement said CFCB, Club Financial Control, First Chamber has decided to postpone this assessment of the multi-club ownership case involving Olympique Lyonnais and Crystal Palace. The postponement relates to Olympique Lyonnais' compliance with the settlement agreement concluded with the organisation first chamber for its breach of financial sustainability requirements. I mean, why have they been dragged? Crystal Palace now been dragged into that. They're showing that they've cleansed themselves of the ownership.
Yeah, but did they do it in time? I don't think they did it in time, mate. I think that's the problem.
Well,
I think that the time, because the actual qualifying for the tournament.
Yes. So this is the thing, right? So we know the Greek owner of Nottingham Forest. He owns obviously Olympiacos, and he owns Nottingham Forest. So what he tried to do was the fact that Olympiacos were definitely going to be in the Champions League, and he thought Nottingham Forest were going to be in the Champions League. He took himself as the major shareholder director and put it and took himself away from it, which is why you saw him running onto the pitch, going absolutely mental when he saw Forest start losing the game. He had that falling out with Nuno. And what he didn't realise was that he took himself off of the register. They then subsequently dropped straight out the Champions League. But he also would have had a problem, because it's, if you are a shareholder in the company as of the end of March 31st, so he would have also fell foul to the rule, although he didn't realise it. And this is now what Crystal Palace have got, that Textor was in fact the shareholder and owner of those 43% shares on March the 31st. Honestly,
it doesn't explain, though, mate, how it is that Manchester City can have, their stake in Genoa, like the owner of Man City, the brother of Pep Guardiola is the owner of Genoa, but Girona, but they're both essentially owned by the Manchester City Football Group, the City Football Group conglomerate. It also doesn't explain why RB Leipzig and RB Salzburg can compete in the same competition every year, just because they have Chinese walls, right, which are invisible walls. Again, people are going to accuse me of racism here. It's not. It's an actual term. Chinese walls is just a term it's a financial term that's used when something like, I don't know, for example, the traders within Goldman Sachs are not allegedly or not officially allowed to ever speak to the analysts at Goldman Sachs before the analyst department put out a buy or a sell signal on a particular company. And so that there's a rule in place, an invisible wall in place that says that these people are never going to get the first nod on a particular market moving a report that's going to come out. In reality, that is how people beat the efficient market hypothesis. Not to get off into finance, but the efficient market hypothesis, I did my dissertation on this. It says that you can't ever outperform significantly and consistently the average rates of return that you could get from just an investment into a non-managed fund, because all information is available to the market at the same time. It's bollocks. It's an academic's belief, but in reality, of course, there is always insider trading. At the same time, with football, you look at Leipzig and Salzburg, and you say, well, they're allowed to compete in the same competition because they have Chinese walls in their ownership structure. But if that's the case, explain to me why it is that of two teams that have got, there is no other team that has a higher propensity of trade between the two clubs, that apparently have no overlap, apparently have no overarching control in European football over the last 25 years than Salzburg and Leipzig. They trade more between themselves than any other two teams in Europe. So the idea that they are independent is bollocks. United and is it who's Sir Jim Ratcliffe's other team? Is it Montpellier, Marseille, or Strasbourg? It's Montpellier, I think. Those two teams obviously have overlaps, but they were allowed to participate in Europe. Why is it that Olympiacos and Nottingham Forest can't? Why is it that Palace and Lyon can't? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, because they're a small club and they're gate crashing. The system, and they don't want that. And it's farcical. They're trying to get them on a bloody technicality. The guy sold his shares. Move on. By the way, Adam Phillip. Yeah, when I said it was a falling out, yes, it was about Awani getting colliding with the goalpost. But what I'm saying is he was raging at that moment right? He didn't just run on because of that. He's raging because obviously if you look, he took himself off the register. So there wasn't this issue with him owning Nottingham Forest and Olympiacos in the same competition, because he was going to have a situation with UEFA. And you can understand he was absolutely raging that Forest fell off. That wasn't the only reason, but that's why he had that sort of incident where he sort of ran onto the pitch, because he's enraged about everything at the moment. It's not the first time he's done it, by the way. He gets enraged a lot. So let's have a look at some. If you're here, guys, and you're sitting in there, please hit that like button. It's a little thumb button there.
Just a quick one for you, mate. Yeah, and please smash the subscribe as well. By the way, guys, if you are interested in this stuff after the fact, if you rather listen to it on podcast, then we are on Spotify very soon, to be on Apple Pods as well. All the links for that stuff are in the description. Johnny, I wanted to ask you this one, mate. We're just talking about John Textor just there. Obviously, the third club in his 4-club ownership is Botafogo. They have just sacked their manager, Renato Paiva, I guess that is. I'm not sure how you say that. After the defeat against Palmeiras in the FIFA World Club Cup. More turmoil for John Textor's investments.
I mean, I think it's a bit harsh. Listen, Palmeiras are really Botafogo. They've just sold Igor Jesus and Cunha, the centre back, to Nottingham Forest. Another great deal by Edu, £30 million a pair. That's going to be a deal and a half. And then they've got Almeida, isn't it? That's.
Thiago Almeida,
who's on loan at Lyon. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, he'll be leaving. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not now. Maybe. I mean, obviously, France, PSG settling the trade, the deficit on the transfer of Bradley Barcola. We spoke about this yesterday. A lovely little gesture from PSG to try and help out their competition. Sometimes what's good for the goose is good for the gander. PSG need the French football ecosystem to be competitive to some degree, to be able to get some more financial muscle behind their fledgling TV rights deals. And so they've helped out Lyon because they want Lyon to try and get out of that sort of
which is a nice gesture. Look, I'm actually laughing at that. I think Textor should really maybe move into basketball because he's dabbling in football has been nothing short of a disaster. I mean, Lyon getting demoted to League Two, Crystal Palace trying to get rid of this thing with the UEFA, all the shenanigans at Botafogo. I mean, listen, in South America, if you thought Italy was volatile, sacking managers, South America's...
to be fair, Botafogo fans, I did a report on this on Sean Butler TV about a year ago. Botafogo were the center of my entire story about MCO and money flooding back into Brazilian football. John Textor is was, I'm not sure, I haven't kept an eye on it since, but was last year wildly adored by Botafogo fans because of that money that they brought in, and they were the first team to do it. And then now it's like 15 of the 20 teams that are part of an MCO in Brazilian football. I think City Football Group have got an option down there as well. I think RB they're looking at one, although it's not going to be called RB something. 777 Partners, MCP Capital. There's loads of MCOs that are moving into Brazilian football, but John Textor was the kind of groundbreaker on that to save Brazilian football. But now they're in trouble, right? They've just sacked their guy, sacked their manager. They also have just received a massive fine from Brazilian football regulators for not paying a tranche to an American team on Thiago Almeida, right? Yeah. So, it's fascinating stuff, mate. Fascinating stuff. Let's bring it back to European football, though, mate. A little bit of story out for us today. Arsenal have joined, according to Sport Bild, Arsenal have joined Liverpool, Chelsea and United in the race to sign Eintracht Frankfurt striker Hugo Ekitike. We know, Johnny, you love to say that guy's name.
Ekitike, look at that. Yeah, I've been practicing. Ekitike, see, it just flows off my tongue now.
Yeah, I love it, mate. Love it.
And I'll be told it's wrong and I'm pronouncing it wrong. But
Lord love to try, mate. But obviously, Chelsea have just signed Yao Pedro. Is there a likelihood that Chelsea are still interested in Ekitike, or are we chalking that one off now? Surely, right?
Listen, I don't think Chelsea can. I don't think they've got any room in the changing room, have they, for any more players, let alone any strikers? Listen, I think this Arsenal link is just a smokescreen to say to Sporting Lisbon and to RB, look, we're looking at other players. You better reduce your 80 million you want for Sesko and your 80 million pound or 80 million euros that Sporting want for Gyökeres. We saw Gyökeres yesterday said that he's going to refuse to come back and play because he had a gentleman's agreement with the owner that he could go on the cheap. I don't know what he's thinking of, right? There is no such thing as a gentleman's agreement in football, mate. You have to sign something called a contract. You signed the contract and your agent did you a disservice, basically. So whoever's advising you to go on strike is not the way about it, because you're not going to go on strike and expect the club to accept a £50 million bid from Arsenal or put in a transfer request. It's not going to help you either. All right, you've got 3 years left on your contract. Either the club has to pay up, just the same as Romero. You want the player, pay up or jog on. Simple as that. So maybe this move to Ekitike might...
God, look, it's just rolls now, mate.
Yeah,
You're
rolling. Just rolling now. It's only taken me weeks of practice. I couldn't even say when we were playing them. I wish they just kept Mamouche. It would have been a lot easier for me.
Techi's my favourite.
I think that there's a balancing act here. I think all three strikers are probably on their radar. We talked about lists, and probably on Arsenal striker list will be probably in order, maybe Gyökeres, Sesko at the top, maybe Ekitike on the number 3, maybe Victor Osimhen as a 4, and maybe Ollie Watkins as a 5, because Ollie Watkins keeps twerking for Arsenal, saying he's always been an Arsenal fan. So we'll see.
Johnny, I've got to stop you, mate. I've got to stop you. There's a Fabrizio bomber that's just dropped.
There we go. Bomber.
Arsenal have made contact with Eberechi Eze's camp over the weekend. Contacts are taking place for Crystal Palace star, with AFC informed on the deal conditions. Tottenham also remain keen on Eze. Mate, this to me was fucking obvious. It was obvious that that Arsenal could see value in this one, mate. The second that the deal structure changed from £68 million, or at least the news around it, like that was out there, changed from 68 million in one lump to 3 times 20 plus 8 in add-ons. It suddenly opens the door to a lot of other teams that don't have the cash that would look at him and go, yep, he solves a hole. And let's be entirely honest, mate. We talked about this for weeks. Like, Arsenal sign Zubimendi, they sign Norgard, they signed, they've already got Marino, they've already got Declan Rice, they're losing Thomas Partey. And we were going, well, how do you fit them all in? And who takes, who's going to compete with Odegaard? Is Rice going to compete with Odegaard in the 10? And I was like, no. Yeah, he's not a 10. He's not a 10. He's a box-to-box. He's Steven Gerrard. This guy makes so much sense. He makes so much sense to me in an Arsenal shirt. 100%. And then 24 hours later, the Arsenal links start to emerge. And I said at the time, there's nothing real about it. But when Romano says it, Romano doesn't speculate. He waits until something's happening before he says it. So that now I'm scared. Are you a little bit scared now, Johnny?
Of course I'm scared, because, look at Chelsea. Identify, negotiate, sign, right? We want Delat, done, right? We want Gittins, done. We want Yao Pedro, done, right? We need a goalkeeper. Well, we're going to do that, right? They're now looking at Martinez. They don't mess around. I think a lot of the problem is, because I don't want to make this Spurs-centric, but I think a lot of the problem is Thomas Frank, whilst he has unlike most managers, he's an obsessive. So he will have a dossier on every single player in that Spurs squad from last season and the season before, because he likes to know everything about a player, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and how to exploit their weaknesses. Okay, so he will have a good idea of the players, but he still needs to have a look at them in pre-season training. And until pre-season training starts, it's great. Listen, Sean and I use the analogy, right? We've used it a few times. Before, the analogy was everyone's at the disco or at the club chatting up all the beautiful women, right? And Spurs are still waiting for an Uber driver because we didn't have a manager. Okay. Now we got a driver. We got an Uber driver, but he can't find his way to the club, right? He doesn't have Waze and he doesn't have Google Maps, right? And the guy,
Meanwhile, Arsenal went out looking for a 9, thinking they got to the party early, were looking for a 9, and then ended up walking out with a 6 that was well past her best, right? In Norgard.
Yeah, but they've gone back in. They put her in a taxi, right? I've gone back into the club.
Yeah.
I'll sort it out later.
He's done a murmur. They've gone, listen, love, any chance, if I just pop back in and go and get a fit 9, you up for a 3 ball? Yeah, I don't mind. Says Christian, all right, I'll send you home. You go and warm up the sheets, and I'll be back in a minute with a 9 or 2.
Pepe's there to make sure no one drops anything, right? Look, I think that Chelsea have gone straight into the club. They bought the best champagne. The fireworks have been coming in, and they've enticed all the best that they can find at the club, and they're walking off with it, right? Man City have done it. Liverpool have done it. Arsenal are doing it, not to the extent maybe of Chelsea just yet, but they will be doing it. And as Philly quite rightly says, you snooze, you lose. Right? I mean, time waits for no man. And if you're gonna sit around and dither, by the time everyone's left, what are you picking? It's like when you were at school football and you had to pick your team to play your 5-a-side in the school playground, right? And if you didn't pick right, you were going to left with the useless ones at the end that no one wanted. That's where I feel that Tottenham could end up if we don't. I mean, honestly, this is just,
mate. It's quite wild. And at the very same time, we have another. What's going on with my stream here? 1 second, I'm getting blocked out.
It's central here.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to jump back in. Give me a second. My screen's frozen. 1 second.
Oh, he's gone. So let's have a look at some of the other stories that were taking place. There he is. He's back.
Sorry about that. There's at the very same time, mate. We got another bomber that's coming out from Matt Law about Aston Villa, and it's quite. Can you see this on the screen? Not yet.
It's coming. Oh, here we go.
Exclusive. Aston Villa are going to avoid their PSR breach as they close in on a £55 million women's team deal. Warehouse project also lined up for PSR boost and club commit to UEFA player cost cut. I'm gonna have to take a look at this one quickly, mate. Let me share this tab instead. Right, this is
honestly, if you know Sean and I well enough, you will know that Sean and I have probably been going on about Aston Villa, Chelsea, Newcastle, and all of them and their shenanigans for how long now? 18 months?
Yeah, 18 years, 18 months, 2 years. Yeah, it's crazy. So Telegraph Sport understands that Villa have been working on a deal that would involve selling as much as 10% of the women's team to investors with a view to selling the rest of it to club's holding company to help them comply with profit and sustainability. So this is what they do, right? This is what Chelsea did as well. Chelsea sold their women's team to themselves, to Blueco, and then to validate the outrageous valuation, they got Serena Williams' husband to buy 8% for £20 million at a stronger valuation than what Blueco paid for the other 100% or the initial 100%. And so in so doing, that validates the valuation metric. It's a very clever tactic that's used in fledgling tech companies all the time because the latest valuation is baked in by the previous valuation and then you can kick on again. But it doesn't have, obviously women's team is probably fledgling versus usual companies which aren't. But it's a tactic that clearly validates the valuation metrics and then can get around any potential litigation around if third-party transaction valuations are reasonable, even though we know that Man City have obviously already won that battle.
But it's
it can also be revealed, just quickly, sorry, that Villa have committed to bringing down their player costs by almost 20% over the summer and next, as they wait to find out whether or not they will be punished by UEFA. Doesn't matter, even if they are punished, they're going to get punished 2%, maximum 2%.
He's a 300 grand fine, and we're gonna you're gonna
£50 million for participating in it, minimum 70 million quid. It's literally the most ridiculous legal system that's ever been concocted. I've said 1,000 times. It's the equivalent of stealing a car that's worth 100 grand, like a Bentley or whatever. And then if you get away with it, good for you. If you don't, you have to do a couple of hours sweeping up the streets, but you get to keep the car anyway. Like the ultimate. Like the only way this can ever be stopped is if you do not get to your 70% threshold, you don't get to play in the tournament. That has to, why is that so fucking difficult, Johnny, to get around? It should be if you're under this threshold and you qualify for it, well done, you play. If you qualify but you're over it, you don't. Simple.
That's it. That's how you cure it. You just say, right, okay, you missed it, you're out, right?
Yeah, no punishment. Fuck the punishment. No. The punishment's irrelevant.
No fine.
The punishment is you don't get to play. It's like if you're 17 years old and you want to go to the pub. Sorry, you're not old enough. You don't get to come in. It's not like saying I'm 17, but if I just give you 20 quid, can I come in anyway? Yep, okay. It's not how the world works in any other walk of life. If you're not above a certain threshold or below a certain threshold, if you're not meeting the required conduct, you don't get in. You don't get the ticket. It's simple.
You're out and you're fined. Not you're in. You're in and you get a 300 or 200 grand fine and you get millions of pounds. You broke all the rules to get into the Champions League and then you get 80 million and you get fined 300 grand. It's pathetic. It's nonsensical. It's absolutely nonsensical. I said it to you before. PSG break the rules every single year in the French league. And what happens? They get fined. They pay the fine. They don't care. There's no repercussions. Everyone benefits. PSG benefit by breaking the rules, and the French organisation that runs the league benefits because they get the money, and they get the money from the fine when they're not getting any money from a TV deal. And there was Marshall said something funny. Soon they'll be selling their under-21 teams.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Probably. They've already sold a car park, Johnny. Not Villa, Chelsea. They've already sold a car park.
A car park, a hotel, a women's football team. Can they sell the canteen? Maybe they've got a catering division.
Why not?
That they want to sell.
If all it takes is to separate your organisation out into micro departments, sell your HR department, sell your backroom staff. Like, just turn it into its own little micro organization and sell it to itself. And then it's madness. It's a disgrace. And you know what? They had the chance to close the gaps. They didn't. It's because the powers that be have found a way. And like I say, mate, when you see that John Duran story.
Oh my God. I mean,
like,
we talk about
at this stage, when you see that UEFA are so complicit in setting up rules.
In on that one, Sean, just for people who weren't part of this, who don't know. So John Duran went for 75 million euros. So I get it right. I said pounds the other day, got corrected. To Saudi from Aston Villa. And lo and behold, a year later, he's going out on loan to Fenerbahce alone. How do you pay £72 million for a player just to loan him out to another club?
Yeah, and how is it, Johnny, that Turkey all of a sudden in the last 2 years have got all this money? Where they can pick up where they can pick up the likes of Osman on a loan deal.
Transfers though, Sean. Only loans.
Yeah, and 100%, right? But how is it that is happening at the same time? You get leaked messages about Mourinho. Not to take this off the path about Mourinho being the perennial victim that was actually right, but just the fact that within those leaked messages, the people that were participating in that were Turkish mafia.
Yeah.
Right. Like underworld kind of guys. Right. And then you see this constant loop of stories that involves Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Premier League players. And then you put it all together. And then, Johnny, when you said to me the other day that a mate of yours who knows a thing or two, not your usual guy who knows a thing or two, but the other guy, some other person who said, don't be surprised to find out in the future that there is essentially a massive money laundering scheme that's utilizing American ownership that's invested in the Premier League, that are frustrated by the limitations of PSR, that are essentially laundering money through Saudi Arabia. And then the only way they can get it back into the English system is by doing this player, like basically football players are now essentially drug mules, right? That are being transferred across borders that have massive money attached to them for temporary fucking trades that don't last and don't make any sense in the initial instance. And then you hear about the John Duran deal and you go, you paid 70 million euros and the guy spent a year of his life there. He earned a lot of money, but now he's getting paid in Turkey. And you know that Turkey is the stepping stone back into the Premier League and the guy will be 24 years old by the time he gets there. I am going to need some serious persuasion by people that are really, really legit to convince me that this isn't a new form of massive money laundering and sports washing, not for the brand purposes, but just a way to get money from A to B to C washed into some ecosystem. Because to me, there's no other explanation that can justify some of the things that are happening right now. And the fact that UEFA are okay with these ridiculous rules, you sit there and go, well, why would they be okay with it unless it was okay? But look what happened with Inter Milan, mate.
Mate, hang on a second. Yeah. I mean, Inter Milan, the 300 million euros worth of fake sponsorship with the Chinese owner. But how do you think, guys, Qatar, Saudi Arabia are getting the World Cup and all these things? We know what's going on. We can see it. Adam Phillips says the Amari Kellerman deal from Aston Villa to Chelsea needs looking into. We flagged that one, Adam, as soon as the deal was done. Another absolute.
No, we spoke about it before it happened. We just didn't know it was going to be him.
Yeah, we said that's what was going to happen because the Egyptian owner of Aston Villa has links to the Saudis and all of their groups, because they're all intermingled with their business dealings. And Wise Guy, says Aston Villa agreed to sell their women's team to V Sports and a stake in the operation to prominent US-based investors. Look, the thing is, guys, we can see this happening. We know it's happening, and we aren't running football, right? Sean and I are just running a YouTube channel, right? But we ain't stupid. We both come from backgrounds where, we read a lot, finance, whatever, right? And this, for me, is infuriating. If it's going to be a rule, adhere to the rule. And if you break the rule, there's consequences. You can't get into the competition. It happened to Milan. They punished Milan when they broke the rules and they threw them out the competition.
And Juve, yeah.
And Juve.
That was a long time ago, mate.
Correct.
It feels to me like that was before Saudi entered the world of football. It feels to me like what is really happening, and let's be entirely honest, it's not as though FIFA and UEFA are not absolutely in the mud for various levels of. I mean, don't get me wrong. It started with the Saudi winning the bid for the FIFA World Cup in 2022. Was it 2022? No, 2020. When was it? 2020. When was the Saudi World Cup?
It was the Qatari World Cup, mate.
Oh, sorry, Qatari World Cup. Qatari World Cup. But even then, they that was, it all came out in the wash. There was major bribe. People lost their jobs. People had to resign. No one got put to prison for the corruption. No one got sent to prison. But people had to lose. Sepp Blatter had to step down. All that shit, right? All this stuff, and he's now trying to get back in.
We care. We care, Romero.
We absolutely care, bro. If this isn't for you, then maybe this isn't. Romeo, maybe this channel's not for you, bro. Maybe this channel's not for you. We absolutely care. We're going to talk about it until the cows come home because it's a disgrace. It's ruining the greatest game in football, the greatest game in the world. It's ruining the oldest and the best game that the human population has ever created. The simplest and yet the most amazing unifier of people around the world. And yet there is absolutely nothing short of an insane and disgraceful amount of corruption that is clearly happening, and everyone is complicit in it at the top. UEFA are clear. It's so easy to stop this nonsense with people buying their right arm and selling it back to their left or loaning it back. It's so easy. If you broke the rules to qualify for the tournament, you don't get to participate in the tournament. That's it. Simple. I don't care. Like, that's it. It's simple. It doesn't require a lot of fucking contemplation. If you didn't deserve to be there, if you built a team based on ill-gotten gains or non-existent gains because you have owners with ambitions and a relationship with money that is different, and you haven't necessarily earned it, and you're selling it from your left arm to your right arm, and you get into the tournament, you don't just get a fine and then get to participate in the tournament anyway. It's a fucking disgrace, Johnny. And it's so easy to fix. But then when you see what's happening with John Duran, when you see what happened with Chelsea selling those players to Saudi Arabia back when Todd Bowley first got in,
to Villa,
the PIF fund being involved, like the fact that you can have an ownership, you can have influence on 2 or 3 clubs in the same league purely by just being one standard deviation away from the norm and saying, well, I don't own Newcastle and Chelsea, but one of the owners of Chelsea happens to also be a massive investor in the... It's rotten to the fucking core, mate.
And also, this thing with the Saudi World Cup, right, getting the World Cup, isn't it amazing, right? They didn't have one bidder for the Club World Cup. Not one. No one was bidding for the TV rights, okay? Along came DAZN and bid £1 billion. Lo and behold, who invested £1 billion in DAZN? Saudi Arabia, to help out UEFA. And on that back, we'll scratch your back. We'll have the World Cup. Thank you very much. There you go. Look, if you can't see it, it's fine. And Romeo, it's not about Spurs or anything to do with that. It's to do with football in general, mate. You keep saying who cares, right? I'm just saying
willing to cheat to win. Then I say you're doing what you need to win.
No, you do what you need to win.
What are you saying, mate? That's the equivalent of saying I've got respect for people that that rob a bank and kill people on the way out to protect their own liberty after they've stolen the money. Like, I care about my life more than someone else's. But what are you doing, mate? I don't think you're right for this channel, Romeo, mate. I think you're a bit of a donut, to be honest, bro. But anyway, carry on.
Let's move on. We've had our rant, but it really is a bit of a joke, to be truthful with you. Right, let's look at the other stories. What other ones you got there, Sean?
Loads, mate. So I did a video out yesterday, and I was a bit of a donut, mate. There was nothing going on in the Tottenham space, and I went, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go on Y-Scout. I'm going to find 6 players that I think that Tottenham should be looking at in a world where Eze and Bumo, etc., go elsewhere.
We'll move on to the others, though. Should we do the other one?
I've got a story right now for you, but one of the stories within that 6 that I put out was Malik Tillman, and Malik Tillman ended up literally today going to from PSV Eindhoven to Bayer Leverkusen. So what's interesting about this one is I think Malik Tillman's an absolute baller. He's a beast, right? I absolutely love this guy. I was hoping that maybe Tottenham could go and sign him. We were linked with him before. He's going to Leverkusen to replace Florian Wirtz. In so doing, does that mean that the
good recruitment by Leverkusen? They've been pillaged for most of their players, but they are recruiting very well. They really are.
It means that Justin Kluivert is not going to be going to Leverkusen. So maybe Bournemouth gets to keep hold of, or maybe not. Maybe he goes somewhere else instead. But he is Malik Tillman's an absolute baller. He's going over to Leverkusen, and mate, for 1/3 of the price that they lost for 1/3 of the price that they got for Florian Wirtz, this is the sort of deal where you can sort of go, I see what's going on now, right? Like you let the English club pay over the odds for a player, and you go and get your next guy in who might not be quite on the same level, but he's an absolute baller. And but they've still got 80 million quid to spend, 80 million euros to spend on other talent. So maybe people that were thinking that the Leverkusen were going to be under the bus were probably a little bit short-sighted.
they got a good deal because they only paid like 32 million euros, I think, for Konsa, and they got a sell back to Liverpool for a minimum of 60 million. So they're doing well. Just to highlight here, Shermanator, who I know, nice guy down in Brighton Way. Just going back on that, he says working in financial crime like I do, he's a lawyer, is the most obvious placement, layering, and integration that I've ever seen. There you go.
100%.
There's a man that knows his onions.
Money laundering. Yeah, the 3 rules of money laundering. I've taken so many courses on money laundering. Every year I had to do it. Placement, layering, and integration. 100%, mate. Good to see you, Shermanator. Love that. Mate, another story for you. I think a player we spoke about not that long ago on the channel, Moise Keane, ex-Everton player. Probably a little bit young, raw when he was at Everton. Got sold away. He's an absolute unit of a human being.
Around the houses,
he's got like 6-packs on 6-packs and shoulders that that look like wings. Phenomenal player. And Manchester United, apparently, according to Corriere dello Sport, are interested in bringing him in. £44 million release clause expires in a couple of weeks. Interesting story, Johnny. No?
Yeah, I think they're desperate to get rid of Højlund. I don't think I've heard no news on Xerxes. So I think Højlund's the one they want to get rid of, and bring in another striker. I think they can do better than Moise Keane. Man United, the stories I've got is Man United hopes that Inter Milan would follow up their inquiry for the Rasmus Højlund, misfiring £72 million, but have taken a huge hit because they're not interested now. So, they're one avenue. We know the troubles that Inter Milan are now about to unfold with them. They ain't coming in and spending that money on Rasmus Højlund. And they got Torel Malakia is the latest Man United player. They're struggling to shift as their rebuild is hampered by a large number of players on their books who they just cannot sell due to the high wages, the amount of years left on their contract, and the fees that United need to demand to get some of their money back. It is incredible how the person who was responsible for all these crazy overpriced signings on ridiculous wages is just not accountable. And let's be honest, not only is he not accountable, Sean, he's probably been paid a massive payoff to go somewhere else to do the same shit job there.
Yeah.
What else have you got there?
I've got another one for you, mate. The stories are flying in thick and fast this week. Guys, smash the subscribe on this channel because I think that we usually do an hour every day, right? But I think that we're walking into right now, like it's going to be party time at the bar. It's quick. It's like happy hour, right? When like it's been a slow start to the transfer window, but today you can see the stories are flying thick and fast with Premier League clubs and elsewhere. We're going to bring it all together for you. Every story gets 3 or 4 minutes of our attention. We're going to move on to the next one, but we're going to be extending these shows. We've got 8 minutes left on our hour, Johnny. But if you've got nothing else to do, I think we've got another half an hour in us, mate. We're going to keep going, right?
Yeah, I think we got to keep going, guys. As I said, smash the like button. Helps the algorithm. You've been amazing helping us do that, and keep up the good work, man. The viewing numbers for a small channel where 2, 3, 4 times and a number of subscribers viewing. So if you are, just hit the subscribe button. And for those who are new to YouTube, and we've got some people, subscribe doesn't mean you're paying to watch us. It just means you'll get a notification when we're live or when you can watch the channel. So hit that subscribe button, guys. Very important for help us growing. Go on, Sean.
Yeah, and if you are interested in the audio version, as soon as this stream's finished, we upload it straight onto Spotify and the various other podcast things. Mate, Tammy Abraham, we're talking about Turkey.
I like Tammy Abraham personally. I always thought he was a decent striker. I'm amazed he hasn't come back to the Premier League, if I'm honest.
Well, maybe it all makes a little bit of sense right now. By the way, Ornstein's just done a bomber breaking news. I'm going to pin this up in a second. It's got a bit more detail on the Aston Villa deal. And how US investors are involved, which again goes back to this conspiracy theory that US investors are somehow potentially utilizing these various opportunities to, money can move into certain areas, certain jurisdictions a little bit easier than others, and then find its way back into safer havens. So this isn't all about football, guys. This is about protecting wealthy men's money in ecosystems that maybe have different sort of litigation and legislation that stops it just transitioning over easily. But if you go via Turkey, where there's, by the way, tax loopholes for footballers, for example, and Saudi Arabia, and maybe that also makes a little bit of sense as to why Monaco are so busy right now, despite the fact that French football's on its knees. Monaco are very busy as well, tax haven. You got to be thinking outside the box here about who it is. Always follow the money. Who it is that's doing what they're doing. Why is it that they're doing what they're doing? It's not always about football, even though football might be the mechanism to make these things happen. And this is where you're going to learn about this stuff as Jonny and I sort of chew this over together. We won't always be right. A lot of the time it's speculative, but where there's smoke, there's fire. Tammy Abraham agrees a 4-year deal contract at Besiktas. Mate, Besiktas, obviously the third biggest team in Turkey. He is a player that comes with relationships. Is this going to be another thing where he goes and spends a year in Turkey and then eventually finds his way back into the Premier League? But the financiers of certain deals happen to get benefits from doing it via Turkey in the first place.
Well, Roma, I'm not flush with cash. None of the Italian clubs are flush with cash at the moment. Listen, as I've said to you before, I think it's only injuries that have stopped him coming back to the Premier League because, he was always a striker that I liked. No agenda. Sean and Jonny, alias Thick and Fast. You decide. That's an interesting one.
I don't mind. It's enough of my sex life.
Fucking hell. Thick and Fast.
Stop talking about my. Are you my ex-girlfriend?
Thick and Fast. It started or it's over.
Johnny's getting attacked from Daniel Levy. Stop talking about our financial situation. Let's move on to the next one for you guys. There's it's crazy right now. Apparently 5 German clubs are interested in Manchester City's James McAtee. Dortmund, Leverkusen, Frankfurt, Leipzig, and Stuttgart. This is coming from the Times, Jonny. Yeah. James McAtee, a player that Tottenham have been linked with, a player that's sort of, I guess, wanted by a few. Again, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Why would he be leaving for the same money to go to Germany? Well, if German teams don't get the benefit of the British tax. Look,
the thing is, a lot of clubs, young players are going there purely because it works well for them. It works well for them. It's like a breeding ground. Gittins has done it. We've known both the Bellingham boys have done it. Lots and lots of young players now have trod the ground, and the path for these for new other young players to come and join them. I think there's lots of clubs over here that will be interested in James McAtee. I watched him in the under-21s, and he was man of the match in the final. Real captain's performance. He's 22 now. I think maybe at 22 years of age, maybe he should be in the Premier League. A lot of sort of younger, sort of 19, 20s. Gittins is still only 20 years of age, coming back to the Premier League from Dortmund. Listen, I can understand why they're interested in him. You can fully understand it. He's a really good player, and he's grounded out of Manchester City. And you look at all the players that Manchester City have let go in the last 2, 3, 4 years: the Douglas Luiz, the Morgan Rogers, the Palmers, the Delaps, the Lins. The list is endless of players. But yeah, he'll go there and he'll do very well, Foxy. We know he'll do well there. If you've come through the Premier League and you're quality, you will definitely 100% be being a success out there.
Blaine, so sorry, mate. Didn't see this. I saw the starred message and I didn't see it, mate. I'm so sorry, buddy. I would have brought it up a lot earlier. I hope you're doing well, man. Thank you so much for your ongoing generosity, mate. You show so much support to the various channels that you're dialed into, mate. We love you, buddy. We love you. I'm still really a bit high from having a broken tooth extracted this morning. Shit, man. I hope fucking hell. How'd you do that? I don't know if that was more or less painful than our transfer window. Put it to a poll. Big up, lads. Smash those likes. Mate, first and foremost, let us know how you did it. I'm sorry to hear that, mate. What did you do? Were you cracking open a beer with your hand and it cracked off, or
trying to bite walnuts open with his teeth? Never a good idea.
Yeah. Adam Walnut is good player from Crystal Palace. We should be getting hold of him. Mate, good luck with the tooth extraction, mate. That sounds horrendous. Well, enjoy the buzz. I don't know what the weather's like in Belfast. I think that's where you're from, isn't it? Mate, I hope, well wishes sent to you, and thank you very much for the super chat, my man. Thank you very much for the super chat. Johnny, mate, the stories keep on flying in right now.
Can I give you one?
Yeah.
We're ready to throw Flying Scot Ben Doak into the swap deal for England star Mark Gahey, which has basically put a bit of a kibosh for Everton, because David Moyes really was after him for Everton. And if that deal goes ahead, then that will be good, because if Eze goes, they'll want a replacement, and Ben Doak fills that void. So they can offer Ben Doak plus cash for Mark Gahey. But they were looking for him, Everton. Again, so many deals are interconnected. One down can trigger 2 or 3 other deals. And this is one of them. Really good player, Ben Doak. A lot expected of him from Liverpool. Will Liverpool let him go, do you think? I'm not so sure.
I don't know too much about him. How old is he?
Young. Scottish. I shall look him up. Ben Doak. I can't remember exactly. I don't want to be accused of getting the age wrong. Ben Doak is, I shall tell you while you're looking up the next story.
Yeah, so the next story is that Real Madrid have identified the
19 years of age. 19. Yeah.
Has he played for Liverpool, has he?
He's a right winger. He's had he's been in the Championship this season, 24 appearances, 3 goals, 7 assists. So, yeah, well, I think they're looking at it. He is 19, Foxy. Yeah.
Foxy knows. Foxy knows all.
Foxy. Yeah. Go on.
Foxy knows all. Listen, we got Jonny Evans has been appointed as new head of loans and pathways at Manchester United. Is this real? Hang on a second. Jonny Evans. Hang on the wrong page here. 1 second. Jonny Evans has been appointed by Manchester United as the new head of loans and pathways. What the fuck? What are we doing?
Just honestly. Well, listen, look, pathways. Look, he's so busy. Look, he sacked so many people. He's probably got some spare cash now, Ratcliffe.
It's like I've been at companies before when they go, listen, you know, we've just lost the HR department, right?
Yeah.
Yes, boss. Yes. Is there any chance that you can just keep an eye on what's being said? Mate, I'm a sales manager. But we need you to make sure that your team are like, what do you mean? Like you start end up doing like you become the T-boy, you become the cleaner because the club have or the company have ended up sacking or selling a few players or whatever. I just feel like Jonny Evans has become the new head of loans. What is that? That's so random. So random. The head of loans and pathways.
Romeo, people don't want to give Archie Gray time, but want to give Frank all the time he needs. Hang on, Romeo. Frank hasn't even got in the door yet, mate. He hasn't even had a game yet. He hasn't even had a training session, right? Well, I don't know what you're coming. I'm not sure where you're coming from, mate. I think go and have a lie down, maybe, and come back later.
This is hilarious. They got the Irish man doing pathways.
I mean,
love it. Absolutely love it. Mate, let's get to the next story. There's a lot bubbling up right now.
Another one on Chelsea, Sean, which is interesting. Chelsea have held talks with Sadiq Khan and the mayor's office over building a new stadium. I wonder how much money's changed hands in that one.
Yeah, a lot. How much do you think it will cost to build a new 50, 60,000? I mean, they're going to have to buy Earls Court, aren't they? Apparently,
2 billion, mate. 2 billion, easy. Easy.
Yeah.
In this commodity prices, no, mate, you got no chance. Labour costs through the roof. Yeah, I reckon easy 2 billion. But don't worry, they'll sell that to someone else, or they'll sell seats for a stadium that hasn't even been built.
John O'Shea is coming back as head of walls and driveways.
Brilliant.
Sensational banter. Sensational.
Let's have some more imaginary jobs. Let's have some more imaginary jobs. If you can think of new imaginary jobs or other things that your club could sell to raise money, sell to itself to raise money.
Roy Keane's been coming in to fix the roof at Manchester United.
Roofing. We've sold the catering division, the Spurs catering division. We've sold it to an outside source.
Unbelievable, mate. I want to ask this because we put out a video late last night on the channel as like an upload. But if you hadn't seen it, maybe you haven't. There's 600 people here, guys. But smash the granny out of the like as you always do. Hit the subscribe. And if you are watching but you want to participate in the chat, all you've got to do is hit the subscribe button. You get instant access. That's just the way that we try to encourage subscribers. But Johnny, I want to get your thoughts as quickly on the whole Gyökeres story from yesterday. Lots of things are moving right now. Monday's come in full, thick and fast. Everything's changing direction. Yesterday, Varandas, the sporting president, said basically, look, if he pays the money, we haven't got to sell Gyökeres. We're happy for him to stay. We've sold other players. We're fine. We're sustainable.
3 years left on his contract.
3 years left on his contract. He's going to stay unless a team pays the money. Forget about all this notion of like gentlemen's agreements. He either stays with us and plays with us. Yes, he might be upset, or someone pays the money. He hasn't, identified or told everyone what the number is. And Gyökeres has come out and said, "I'm never playing for you again. Never playing for you again." Well, what's your take on this whole story, mate?
I mean, look, you signed a contract, guy. You grow up. It's not like you just walked into football. Okay, your agent should tell you what's going on. A good agent, right? It's as simple as that. And the fact of the matter is, I don't blame Sporting Lisbon for trying to get their money. It's as simple as that. They paid over 20 million for him. He's banging in the goals, and quite rightly so. When he looks at the money they're going for Cunha and for some of these other strikers, he turns around and he says, well, if João Pedro's 50 million, right, Gyökeres is easily worth 70, 80 million all day long. You're not going to come. Arsenal, Man United, whoever are stoking the fire and speaking to Gyökeres or Gyökeres agent. They can do all the posturing, all the shouting and screaming they want and refusing to go back to work. You've got a contract. The club does not need to sell you unless they pay the money. And quite honestly, I think Gyökeres is worth more than some of the fees being quoted by these other clubs. They want 80 million euros for Sesko. They wanted 70 million for Victor Osimhen. So why shouldn't he be 70, 80 million pounds? I don't blame them. They're trying to get him for 50 million euros. I mean, come on. Not a chance. Not a chance. The guy's a bloody goal machine, and he's not a one-season wonder. He's proved it over and over and over again. And just pay the money. I don't like this. I'm going on strike if I don't get my move. You were happy to sign for the club.
It does often lead to the move happening, though, doesn't it? Let's be honest.
Yes, it does. But at the end of the day, why should Sporting accept 50 million for a player that's worth 80? Just because the club doesn't want to. He's stirring the buying club is stirring the pot here. Why don't you go out and strike? Why don't you put in a transfer request and we'll sort out money our end or what have you, and we'll get the player. Disturb the player. It's an old trick that Real Madrid have done for years, unsettling players. They've done it at Spurs. They've done it in all sorts of clubs. And Bayern Munich do it. Florian Wirtz is probably the first time in German history that they didn't get the player they wanted. They've been twerking for Florian Wirtz for a year now, and he's gone to Liverpool, and it's really upset the apple cart with them. They're used to getting their own way. and they put out the stories there. They look what they did with Harry Kane. They were talking about buying Harry Kane before any deal had ever been done, right? Stirring the pot. And this is what they're doing with Gyökeres. So I do not blame the club. If that was your club and that is your player, you would expect your chairman to stand the ground and say, right, if you want to go, you've got to pay us the top dollar. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I completely agree, mate. Completely agree. Yeah, the main takeaway from today, I think, is it's just insane amounts of to me, like the transfer market is about to absolutely like walk into overdrive, and we've been waiting patiently for it for the last couple of weeks, Johnny. So, guys, expect maybe on this channel that you're going to get maybe 2 updates a day, 2-hour shows a day over the future. Maybe we might, I don't know if Johnny's available for this, but we might do one slightly earlier, like 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, and then maybe one slightly later in the afternoon or evening, because I think that this is about to go absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, I've got things going on, but we're always trying to fix it in. There's also another one here. Qatar has expressed big interest in bidding to host the 2029 Club World Cup in a move that would involve moving the tournament to the winter. I mean, we don't need it. We don't need it. Just don't give it to Qatar.
You can't put everything on. You can't. You know what? It will probably happen, mate, because the money will be there for it, and that's the big problem. Like just like the World Cup, right? It will probably happen, but then ultimately, and they'll justify it by saying the Premier League clubs have been asking for a winter break. You know, only 2 Premier League clubs will be asked to go and play in the Club World Cup, and they'll get compensated, appropriately for it. But everybody else gets that winter break that they've been calling for the last 2 years, and it will likely happen, mate. It will likely happen because at the end of the day, it comes down to money, doesn't it?
Well, those 2 clubs. So those 2 clubs go off and play football, competitive football, right, for 3-4 weeks or 4 weeks, however long it's going to take. Get paid handsomely, while the other clubs sit there on their hands, lose all momentum, and get paid nothing. No, if you want to do
it can't happen, but it will happen. It probably will happen, and they'll make it like they'll go. We'll expand it to 64 teams, and we'll include 6 teams from the Premier League or something. And then it comes down to there'll be. We've already heard, mate. Just for what it's worth, we've already heard in the last week. We spoke about this last week about the idea of the next iteration of financial fair play loopholes. They've shelved the idea of the anchoring rule. They've shelved the idea of pivoting towards the 85%, not 70% for UEFA, but the 85% rule to mimic the UEFA rules, but have a slightly more threshold in the Premier League. But then the latest iteration that we've heard about is that you have some sort of carbon tax credits, whereby teams that it's the same. We're basically teams that want to spend money that can't buy their wiggle room from teams that can, and that will be a similar sort of thing. It will be money always talks in this game. It's a disgrace, but that will absolutely happen because most teams in Europe will say we already have a midwinter break. The Premier League don't. Give those guys some money, and the teams that qualify for it will. And by the way, I'm not necessarily against it, Johnny, because if Tottenham beat PSG in the Super Cup, then we'll be a participant in the Club World Cup in 2029. So you know what? I'm going to park my resistance until I know when Tottenham are going to benefit.
Honestly, could you imagine the uproar when we end up finishing 12th or something in the league? Right, and here we are representing in the Club World Cup. It's very, very funny. Daniel Field with a super sticker there, Shawnee.
Oh, sorry, Daniel.
Yeah,
where's that? Thank you, Daniel Field. I can't see it, mate. Can't see the actual picture on StreamYard, mate. But I hope it's something that's either a laughing emoji or a crying emoji, depending on what it is.
Daniel. Really,
thank you very much, buddy.
All the support we're getting from everyone in here has been absolutely fantastic, and we're growing quickly, and there's going to be lots of content. I mean, right now, obviously, 95% of it is all transfer window, but that won't be what we'll be doing once the season started.
I'm pretty sure it does, Adam. I'm pretty sure the Super Cup does actually qualify Tottenham for the. I think in the part of the participants that qualified for this one were winners of the Super Cup. There was one or two teams that won the Super Cup that would, I think Dortmund, for example, or one, weren't they? I'm not sure, but that's what I've heard. We won't know. But
Alpesh and Philly, are they basically saying this is just the start of a Super League and a different guys that will evolve over the next 10 years? Could well be.
It already is, mate, isn't it? It's that. It's just the Super Cup, the Club World Cup, the amount of money that's coming into football. Like, we're going to keep an eye on this story, but like, there's absolutely no logical sense in the team in Saudi paying 70 million quid for a John Duran to loan him out a year later. It just doesn't make any sense. And these players find their way back through Europe. To me, this is disguised money laundering, and that this is something that most channels don't talk about, possibly because they're not sure of it and they're not willing to speculate, or possibly because they're not understanding it, or possibly third option is that because their teams are beneficiaries of it, they don't want to necessarily draw attention to it. But on this channel, we're not Tottenham centric, we're football centric, and we're bringing attention to this stuff because Jonny and I have got backgrounds in finance. And when you just look at the stories that are emerging, they don't make any sense. As I mentioned earlier, I didn't want to bore you guys, but when I spoke about this thing called the efficient market hypothesis, this is a theme in finance, right? In actual finance, not football related. But like, there's one school of thought that academics look at and say that no one can outperform if you go by the rules. If the rules are legit, then no one can outperform the market consistently. But the reality is that people do. Hedge funds do every year, all the time. There's a company, there's a I think his name's Marin Gold or something, that started in 1980 and has had a 69% average rate of return for the last 50 years, 45 years. Yeah. Right? They've outperformed the market. They've outperformed the greatest hedge funds. They've outperformed Warren Buffett's hedge fund, etc., by 4 or 5-fold for the last 40 years. It's insane the amount of money that company makes. They've got an algorithm that's protected. But ultimately, the reason why they can do that stuff, the reason why the efficient market hypothesis doesn't make any sense in reality is because in reality, rules are broken, whether or not they're acknowledged or people are punished for them, that there is things happening that academics don't like to acknowledge. And it's exactly the same in football. And so Jonny and I are going to continue to bring our attention to your attention about these things, because it's clear as fucking day to me and to Jonny that this emergence of Turkey being a big player, Saudi Arabia, the American money, it looks like it's just one big giant money laundering swoop. And ultimately, no one seems to give a fuck because everyone's getting a little bit of a brown paper bag somewhere in the system.
Well, it's helping everyone out. You know, Aston Villa's Egyptian owner with his friends in Saudi, that John Duran deal magically in January helped them meet FFP and PSR. The deals that they did between Chelsea and Villa, valuing players at over £20 million who don't have any value at all. But what did they do? They you cannot prove that a player isn't worth the money that it's just been sold for because they've just paid it, right? You can't prove in a court of law that X player is not worth 20 million, even though he's not worth 20 million, because you can't prove it. And that's another loophole that they utilize, selling players to each other, homegrown players, so you can maximize the value what a homegrown player gives you against your FFP and PSR numbers. So it's there, it's happening. Unfortunately, the EPL is sat on its hands, and all it does is it takes its members to court, using that money to sue its own members, and 9 times out of 10 loses.
100%, mate. Yeah, and that's what we're going to do here. We're going to bring that stuff to your attention every day. It's obviously not the focus, but when these things happen, we have to talk about them because it's an absolute fucking disgrace. It is what it is. Daniel Fields coming with another. I've just dialed into YouTube because we obviously do these things through StreamYard where the super stickers don't show. I just looked. The first one that you put in was a thumbs up saying top content, I guess. And the next one's come in saying you're a noob, with a picture of a PlayStation controller or something. So thank you very much, Daniel, mate. I appreciate you. That one has definitely shown, mate. I've seen them all. Thank you very much, buddy. You're an absolute legend, as are the rest of you. There's been 600 people here plus the entire stream. Love to think it. Johnny, anything else we want to say before we round off?
No, I think that's it for today. I'm sure there'll be lots of stories coming in. We, really expect tomorrow for everything to start moving. Basically, I think we're going to get a lot of news tonight. Maybe we'll have another one tonight if it all starts coming in.
100%. Just quickly, Tony 26262626 says, Sean, when is the Spurs YouTube fans park meetup you mentioned a couple of weeks ago? I haven't even organised it, but we are going to 100%. I'm going to reach out to a bunch of different guys in the community and see if we can get everyone together to meet up in some park somewhere. Ideally, if I'm being selfish, closer to me, maybe down at Top Golf in Addlestone. That'll be right around the corner. Everyone can come back to my house afterwards for a barbecue. How about that? But more likely, I think everyone's going to want to do it somewhere near North London. But that's where most of the Tottenham fans are, clearly. So yeah, it's something that I'm going to look into, mate, and try and organise. It'd be lovely to get everyone. Everyone's got a dog as well. Bring them down because Bugsy loves to have some attention.
Adam Phillip, will Paratici announcement be today or tomorrow? Paratici's got an advisor's contract to the end of August. So I wouldn't expect you to or anyone to make any declarations until afterwards. Also, he has an outstanding court case, and the club will definitely not want to get any egg on its face like it did last time, appointing him and then have the charges. So I think they'll wait to see what happens with that court case, that there's no more charges, and then I think he'll be announced.
There you go. Guys, appreciate you all, and we'll see you maybe later on tonight. Maybe a late show, maybe like 9-10 o'clock or something. Johnny, what you got? What's your life looking like today?
Maybe do one early evening. Let's see. Maybe do one early evening.
We'll find out, guys. We'll have a chat backstage about that. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for the super chats. Blaine, I hope your teeth is okay, my man. Sounds horrendous. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Daniel, again. And guys, please, on your way out, if you haven't already, smash the like and hit the subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow or tonight for another edition of Football Inc. And this stuff is all on the audio platforms as well for podcasts. So go over to Spotify or wherever else you find your podcasts and subscribe over there. I'll see you next one. Cheers, guys. It's goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from him.
Oh, he's figured it out. He's finally got it right. Well done, Johnny. Well done. Bye, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.